committed relationship? Looking for real advice on having love and enriching your relationship? You are in the right place. Welcome to The Couples Expert with Stuart Fensterheim.
Hello, and welcome to the Couples Expert podcast. I'm Stuart Fensterheim, the Couples Expert. This is episode 113 of our podcast, where we talk about all aspects of love and relationships. And today, we're going to bring up a subject that I don't think is discussed very often. Our podcast today is going to be about staying close and connected with your partner when they are a first responder or emergency service worker. Before we get into the podcast, though, I want to talk about what today, June 1st, is in the Jewish religion. As I age, my religion and beliefs become more important to me. And in this age of dissension in our country, if I can do something to bridge the gap of understanding and acceptance of our diverse culture in this country, I would like to be a catalyst for this. Religion is one of those things that at times pulls people apart. However, my belief is that the more we understand one another, the more similar we find we are. Religion in its truest sense is about love, understanding, and being the best we can be. Today is the end of the Jewish holiday Shavuos. The holiday of Shavuos is a 2-day holiday beginning at sundown of May 30th to June 1st. The word Shavuos means weeks. Shavuos is the Hebrew word for weeks and refers to the Jewish festival marking the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai, which occurs 7 weeks after Passover. Shavuos, like many other Jewish holidays, began as an ancient architectural festival that marked the end of the spring barley harvest and the beginning of the summer wheat harvest. In ancient times, Shavuos was a pilgrimage festival during which Israelites brought crop offerings to the temple in Jerusalem. Today, though, it's a celebration of the Torah, education, and actively choosing to participate in Jewish life. Immediately after the blessing, what you do is you lift your hand shoulder high, palms outstretched, facing downward. The right hand should be slightly more elevated than the left one. The fingers are positioned in a manner which leaves 5 windows through which God's blessing flows to the congregation. The general idea is to separate each hand into 3 sections, leaving spaces on each hand between the thumb and index finger and between the middle and ring finger. The 5th space is completed by the way the 2 thumbs are configured together. There are different traditions regarding this. For those of you who didn't hear my episode on Vulcan love, this is how Leonard Nimoy, who is Jewish, came up with his live long and prosper handshake. Listen to the episode if you haven't. It's actually cool when we have these different religions that we've used today into different things and you haven't even realized that there was an association. You know, I'm very excited about this week because I am now excited and refreshed after my brief vacation trip with my wife, Debbie, for Memorial Day. We did some incredible, exciting, and new things, and we go to Sedona every year to hike and to commune with nature. Every time we go, I fall deeper and deeper in love with her because I realize how fortunate I am to have someone to share my life with, my passions, and have these incredible experiences, and to take the time to really appreciate who we are as a couple. Okay, enough mush now. Back to the show on loving your first responder partner. Couples where one or both of the partners are first responders face some very unique challenges. The divorce rate for firefighter marriages, for example, is 3 times the rate of the general population, and post-traumatic stress disorder is a reality for a high percentage of first responders. I felt like we should address this issue here on this podcast and talk not only about how you can support your partner if they're a first responder, but how the two of you can stay close and bonded emotionally. If you're thinking about loving or getting married to a first responder, stay tuned so you can see some of the challenges. But if you're already married or in a relationship with someone, listen up, because we're going to talk about how to stay close. I thought of a quote from Joseph Campbell, and it goes like this: "My heroes are those who risk their lives every day to protect our world and make it a better place." He was referring here to first responders, our police, firefighters, and military forces. These are men and women who, when others run from danger, they run toward it. Are they just crazy, delusional, or are they the knights of our time, such as King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table? Whatever you believe, I consider them heroes. They are true heroes. Being heroic takes a toll on a person and on those people closest to them. I hope today's podcast will do something to help you learn how to make your relationship with your first responder closer, happier, and more connected than ever before. I also hope, as a result of this podcast, the next time you interact with them, and if you're not in a relationship with a first responder, you thank them and their families for their service, because it really is the family that's dedicating their life to serving us. You know, people do this. They thank them for their service if they're in the military. But typically, I haven't heard the same kind of statements made for our firemen and policemen. And I think there's a reason for that. There's a history for that. And we haven't always really been there for these first responders. But I think since 9/11 especially, things have changed in that way. And I think it's really sad that we haven't made the statements to those folks as much as we have to the military. Support and understanding is incredibly necessary to have a close, connected relationship with your first responder partner. They are dealing with adrenaline-fueled situations every single day, all day long, and that can keep them in a very hypervigilant or watchful state of mind, even when they're in downtime. Spouses and partners need to understand that this state can become a habit that makes it hard for them to relax. Sometimes physical activity and distractions are needed to transition from a high alert to a much more calm state. One of the best things that you can do for your relationship is to give the person who's a first responder some understanding about needing space. The space that they need when they're feeling tense and unable to settle down. You must understand something. It's difficult for them to slow themselves down and just be. The more understanding and supportive you are, sometimes it might have to be from a distance, the more your partner will be able to take the time they need, decompress, and get into the sort of home life mode, and be able to have some positive interactions with you and the kids. What is universal is that first responders deal with very high stress levels, and it can affect their mental and physical well-being. Navigating the stress and problem solving are two of the most important skills for couples that do this. You have to find a way to do that. There is such a high percentage of emergency workers, EMTs, who self-medicate, and I want to encourage you to find other coping skills and not to dull your senses with alcohol, drugs, sometimes gambling, all sorts of addictive behaviors. Even cigarette smoking is adding to the bodily stress and is extremely detrimental. Teach yourself to practice mindfulness. One of my backgrounds is working at Desert Samaritan Hospital in the emergency room. And I would see these EMTs coming in and firemen, and almost always I'd find a high percentage of them going out, smoking, and just I was thinking it's sort of weird to see that because they're working in this healthcare environment and smoking. But smoking for some is the way that they lower their stress level. And what we know is it's counterproductive. It is actually adding to the stress. Learn relaxation techniques. Meditation is a really wonderful way. And for some folks, meditation feels like hocus pocus, but it can be so extremely helpful. Meditation, which includes listening to music, guided imagery, breathing exercises. There's also a wonderful device I just started using called the Muse. It's a small device with an app for your iPhone that allows you to develop a skill of calming down. I highly recommend it. And one of the things I'll do is in my show notes, I will put a link in that will allow people, if they want to purchase this, that they can. And I use it with couples who have a difficult time calming down with one another. A critical part of being a first responder is maintaining a strong relationship at home. Make it a point to check in with your partner on a regular basis. This serves both to reassure your partner that you're safe and for them to be able to have that daily connection that when you can't be home. If you're one of those that has to stay on site for days at a time, it's a great way to really keep the connection going with your spouse and family. Thankfully, we now have things like video chats, FaceTime, Google Chat, all sorts of different instant message kinds of things to make these easier. I want to take this opportunity right now, though, to remind everyone that you can go to the Couples Expert website, which is www.thecouplesexperts.com. That's experts, experts.com. And there's an archive of about over 100 podcasts that I've done on all sorts of topics related to love and relationship. You can subscribe to them. The other thing you could do at the website is subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can see my 3 Minutes with Stuart videos. These are short tips and clips that I do 3-4 times a week, and you can apply these to your relationship with your partner, including first responders. Here are some ideas for you to be able to make a deeper connection with your partner. Try doing some of these with and for them, if you're not already doing it. There are small things that can make a huge change in the way that you interact with your partner and can change your partner's perception of you. Because one of the things that quite often happens is first responders begin to feel so different and feel that they're really alone. You need to let them know that even though they may not see you for a prolonged period of time, you're in this together. And you're the one person in this whole world who has their back and is really rooting for them and supporting them in what they're doing. Another suggestion is if you can stay up and wait, I would recommend that. Even if you're asleep on the couch, when your partner returns late at night, they'll know you were thinking of them and that you tried to wait up. Take a little time to just ask how their day was, how they're doing, and let them settle into a more relaxed state, knowing you were there just for them. If you're the spouse of a first responder, I'd highly recommend that you look for a support group. You should try to find a support group of other spouses who are in the same situation as you. To hear their stories are going to help you realize that you're not alone in this struggle. Now, one of the things that I know, quite often, you may already be in a support group because other first responders typically are considered family and you socialize with them. perhaps creating some times for the spouses or partners to get together would be a good way to really use your family as a means of support. The other thing I want you to really be aware of is the need to be flexible. Your first responder spouse may have a difficult challenge every single day at work, and they may be bringing some of that stress home to you. Learn to be flexible with plans and the demands on their time. It's a very dynamic kind of relationship when you have an adrenaline junkie. They may need extra time to decompress and release that stress. So making additional demands on them can be really stressful. You may be attending some dinners or school events by yourself because they're not up to it. You need to understand and support and be flexible with these events. What's critical along with that is that the first responder has to learn to communicate what's happening. That when they're coming home and there's been a particular stressful day, you need to reach out to your partner. Sometimes it's better to do that before you get home, letting them know what you've been through so that they have a deeper understanding of it so that they can react in a more appropriate way. It's important to learn the lingo. Each emergency service worker has their own set of terminology and lingo for what the job is. It's helpful if the partner understands the lingo on a deeper level and for them to be able to discuss the work with you so that you already understand what certain words mean. There's tons of resources available for this, and more importantly, talk to your partner. Next week on our podcast, we're going to be talking about the business of love and what it takes to put together and maintain closeness. If you're married to your business partner, it will definitely be an exciting discussion on how to avoid the relationship pitfalls when you live and work with your partner. One of the things to also make sure you do is remind your partner that they're more than just a paycheck, that your interest in them isn't about their life insurance policy. That doesn't mean you don't have expectations and that you shouldn't have a to-do list waiting for them on their days off, but it does mean that you need to convey to them that even though they're often not around, they're a very important part of your life and your children's lives. Show concern for their safety and well-being and let them know how much you love them and need them. If you're the first responder, you need to realize that the choice of your career affects the entire family. Everyone feels it when you're stressed or anxious or unhappy. Make sure your family knows that you're invested in them. They are proud of you doing the work you do, and they do worry about your safety. Make sure you take the time to spend with each family member, reassuring them that you're going to do your best to be safe and to come home to them. Small kids especially need to know this. It is crucial for the success of this relationship for both of you to share in all aspects of your lives. Communication is the key. You have to carve out time to spend with each other, talking about everything, budgeting money, running the household, raising your kids, as well as time to just be together. Spending time with each other is so important if you're going to keep the emotional bond strong. One way to do this that can be really helpful is to begin to think about activities that the two of you can share and share a hobby. Find something the two of you like to do. Spend time together. Not only does it give you that special time to have fun and make memories, it also frees you up to be a couple without the demands on the family. You have things to plan to look forward to. Put it on a calendar. Know that you're going to next week, next month, do something fun. Spending time together is going to help you feel stronger and give you things to talk about as a couple. Don't lose the romance. Some of that couple time need to be specifically designed for romantic times. Both of you have to take the responsibility for making this happen. Don't leave it up to the person who's not the first responder. You need to also take the responsibility for planning dates, planning vacations, participating in your life, help find babysitters, surprising your partner that when you come home that you've brought dinner. These are the kinds of things that tell people that you're thinking about them. The two of you also need to really be aware of how important it is, especially during the summer, to take couple vacations. I've talked a lot about that. And yes, the family vacation is important, but doing vacations for just the two of you is so critical. A relationship with a first responder is definitely more complex and challenging than other relationships. But it doesn't mean that your perspective should be that it can't be a really strong and connected relationship with each other where you know that you have a partner that has your back and that the two of you are in this together. This unique relationship really is one that you can be very proud of. If you do some of the things that I talked about today, taking the time to really learn about your partner's jobs, the demands, what efforts need to go into helping them feel supported, and you sharing with your partner what you need at home for the family to feel loved and important, that will allow you to be able to be much more understanding of their experience. You can have a relationship where both of you know that you fit together and that there's no one in the world that you'd rather be with than them. I want you to know that I'm really thankful to all the first responders out there and their partners that love them. I know it's not easy, but I also know that we owe you a whole heap of thanks for making sure that our world is in a safe place, a better place. I wish you all the best. And until next time, it's Stuart Fensterheim, the couples expert. Please stay connected. Take care now. Bye-bye.